So what exactly does threatening to tear down AIPAC's kingdom mean? If she is radicalized, does this mean perhaps working with terror groups directly? To weigh in on this is Bill Agostino, Senior Analyst at the Media Research Center. Bill, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What exactly is Cori Bush implying here, do you think?
I'm not entirely sure. I've got to say, though, it must be pretty nice to be a Democrat that you can get away with saying something like, I've been radicalized and now you should be afraid, right? I mean, if a Republican said something like that, that would be character destruction, reputation destruction. You'd probably get investigated by the DOJ. So a lot of Democrat privilege going on there, and maybe a little bit of squad privilege, too. Cori Bush, she had this coming, really. I mean, she's been a part of this entire anti-Israel and more generally anti-Semitic movement that's been creeping into the left for quite some time now. It's characterized by anti-Semitism, but in a more general sense, it's really just Marxism. That's really what we're kind of dealing with here. And the Squad are very much the face of that. So it's interesting to see her getting kicked out. I wonder if there's more coming down the pike for the other Squad members as well.
Well, I'm curious. Yes, exactly. I think that's the big next question. How does the rest of the Squad stand up and campaign? Do they take notice or do they double down like she has been doing? I would imagine that in terms of their political livelihood, they're going to start toning their language back.
I think so. And I think that the members of the Squad in general are a lot less principled and married to solely the ideology than a lot of people on the right seem to think. If you recall, when there was a dispute for House leadership back when Democrats still controlled the House, all of the Squad had been attempted primaried by Hakeem Jeffries. Right? He tried to remove as many of them as possible because he saw them as a threat to the establishment. And what happened when there was actually a vote for speakership? They all fell in line. They didn't even cut a deal with him like Republicans did with the McCarthy speakership vote. They all just completely bent the knee, and that upset a lot of the more radical left-wing base of the Democratic Party, who thought that they had sent the Squad to Washington to really shake things up. But as it turns out, they might be a little bit more green than red at this point.
Well, I do think that they operate with a kind of privilege that blinds any political sensibilities, and that would explain some of the more radical language they've used. But on the other hand, there are people who don't enjoy those very same political installations, as we pointed out earlier in the program. Tulsi Gabbard and pro-life supporters, for instance, are put on terror watch lists based on statements vocalized by Bush and Bowman before. Why aren't they? I mean, it has to be more than just liberal privilege. There has to be some other reason.
I mean, the issue is that the entire law enforcement apparatus, the DOJ, and more generally, I mean, if you want to use the term deep state, I think it's a perfectly fine term for it, is pretty much entirely in the tank for Democrats at this point, because they see the Democratic Party as kind of the avenue to securing and maintaining power. Democrats very much like this arrangement because it means that they get to use the DOJ to go after their political enemies. And that's exactly what we've seen with, for example, Tulsi Gabbard, like you just pointed out, or I mean, any number of other cases, really. I mean, there's so much of this going on now. The weaponization of the DOJ is no secret, as I'm sure you know, Chanel. But I think that's really what's at the heart of this, is that because Democrats basically play ball with the DOJ and give them what they want, they're essentially given free rein to make these outlandish statements that if a Republican made them, they'd be looking at least an investigation, if not some kind of bogus charge as well.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN Live. OAN Live is the best way to stay up to date on all of the hard-hitting, straight-shooting, national and international headlines. And the best part is, OAN Live is only $4.99 per month. All the credible, honest, unbiased reporting One America News offers at a fraction of the cost of cable. Just go to OANN.com to easily sign up for OAN Live and stay informed.